There's a moment when you arrive in a country where medieval walls meet crystal-clear Adriatic waters. Roman emperors built retirement palaces that grew into entire cities, and you realize that Croatia has remained Europe's best-kept secret, more beautiful and often cheaper than Italy or Greece. Today we're covering the 15 things that actually matter: Dubrovnik's ancient walls, Diocletian's palace in Split, the islands of Hvar and KORČULA, Plitvice Lakes and Krka waterfalls, ZADAR's sea organ, Rovinj's Venetian charm, PULA's Roman arena, Zagreb's elegance, ŠIBENIK's fortresses, TROGIR's medieval perfection, the MAKARSKA Riviera, MLJET National Park, and PELJEŠAC Peninsula wines. Hit subscribe to Passport Unfolded right now, because what I'm sharing comes from multiple trips along this spectacular coastline. All the specific recommendations are linked in the description, so you can start building your own Adriatic adventure. Let me start with Dubrovnik. It's probably the reason you're considering Croatia in the first place. This impossibly photogenic walled city juts out into the Adriatic and has been called the Pearl of the Adriatic for centuries. Walking the full circuit of the city walls takes about 2 hours, but you'll likely want longer. Stopping every 50 meters to photograph terracotta roofs cascading toward turquoise water becomes almost compulsive. The walls date back to the 10th century, and walking atop these massive fortifications shows how this small city-state managed to maintain its independence for centuries. Go early in the morning, right when the walls open at 8. By 10, the cruise ship passengers arrive, and the narrow walkways become crowded fast. Fort Lovrinac, just outside the main walls, offers the best views back toward the city. It also served as a filming location for Game of Thrones. For food, skip the obvious tourist restaurants along the Stradun and head up into the residential areas instead. Local konobas serve fresh fish, black risotto, and grilled octopus at prices locals can actually afford. The views from the hillside terraces rival anything in the Old Town. Split is where ancient Roman history collides with modern Croatian life. The entire Old Town is built within Diocletian's palace, constructed in the 4th century as the Roman emperor's retirement home. But the palace isn't a museum behind ropes. It's a living neighborhood. People live in apartments carved into imperial rooms, and bars operate in former temple basements. Locals cut through ancient peristyles on their way to work. The Cathedral of St. Domnius occupies what was originally Diocletian's mausoleum. The irony is perfect. The emperor who once persecuted Christians now has his tomb serving as a Christian church. Climbing the bell tower rewards you with panoramic views across Split and its bustling harbor, where ferries come and go constantly. The basement halls of the palace are remarkably well preserved. Walking through these stone corridors with vaulted ceilings feels like genuine time travel. Outside the Riva waterfront promenade is where locals take their evening walks. Outdoor cafes line the promenade, serving coffee you can linger over for hours while watching the maritime activity unfold. Hvar is the Croatian island that became synonymous with glamour. Super yachts anchor in its harbor, and beach clubs charge Ibiza prices. But beyond the glitz, it's genuinely beautiful. Lavender fields blanket the hillsides, and medieval towns perch above pristine coves. Hvar town clusters around a charming harbor, watched over by a fortress that offers sunset views well worth the steep climb through narrow stone streets. Just offshore lie the Paklenica Islands, home to quieter beaches accessible by water taxi throughout the day. Honestly, they're better than Hvar town's limited beach options, where space is always at a premium. The main square is one of the largest in Dalmatia, anchored by a Renaissance cathedral at one end and lined with cafes on the others. For food, skip the overpriced harbor restaurants. You're paying for the view more than the quality. Head inland instead, where family-run canobas serve grilled fish and local wine at reasonable prices. In June and July, lavender fields burst into bloom, painting the landscape purple and filling the air with a fragrance that's intoxicating without being overwhelming. KORČULA claims to be Marco Polo's birthplace. The story is historically dubious, but it makes for excellent marketing. The old town is built in a distinctive herringbone pattern, designed to protect against wind, while allowing cooling breezes to flow through the streets. The town walls and towers date back to medieval times. KORČULA was once part of the Venetian Republic, and the architecture reflects that Italian influence with stone buildings and narrow passageways. The Cathedral of St. Mark dominates the main square with its intricate facade, and climbing the bell tower rewards you with sweeping views across the terracotta roofs and the channel separating KORČULA from the PELJEŠAC Peninsula. The beaches around KORČULA are pebbly rather than sandy, but the water is crystal clear, perfect for swimming and snorkeling. Renting a scooter is the best way to explore the island, where you'll discover vineyards, producing distinctive Gyarig and Poship white wines, as well as small villages where tourism hasn't yet transformed daily life. In summer, the Moreshka sword dance is performed. Though marketed to tourists, it represents a genuine local tradition practiced for centuries. Plitvice Lakes National Park is where nature truly shows off. "16 terraced lakes are connected by waterfalls cascading through ancient forests. The water is an impossibly vivid turquoise. It looks digitally enhanced, but it's completely natural, the result of minerals and microorganisms. Wooden walkways wind directly over the water, so you're essentially walking on the lakes themselves, while waterfalls crash around you in every direction. The park is surprisingly large, and visiting properly requires several hours at minimum. Ideally, a full day if you want to explore both the upper and lower lake sections thoroughly. Go early in the morning or late in the afternoon to encounter fewer crowds and enjoy the best light for photography. The upper lakes are generally quieter, with more dramatic waterfalls and forested surroundings. The lower lakes feature the iconic views that appear in every Croatia guidebook. Summer crowds can be overwhelming, as this is Croatia's most visited national park. Visiting in spring or fall offers a better experience, with nearly equal beauty and the added bonus of autumn colors or spring wildflowers. Krka National Park offers a more accessible waterfall experience than Plitvice. Located closer to the coast, the terrain is easier for walking, making it ideal for a half-day or full-day visit. The main attraction is Skredinsky Buk Waterfall, a dramatic cascade featuring 17 drops over a 400-meter stretch. The river flows over travertine barriers, forming natural pools. Until recently, visitors could swim here, but swimming is now prohibited to protect the delicate ecosystem. Wooden walkways wind through lush vegetation, leading right up to the falls. The sheer volume and power of the water create constant mist and a thundering roar that drowns out all conversation. In the middle of the river sits the small island of Biševo, home to a Franciscan monastery occupied since the 15th century. Boat trips stop there, offering peaceful moments and tours of the historic monastery. The entrance near Skradin town is the most popular and, unsurprisingly, the most crowded. For a quieter experience, head to the Roški Slap entrance at the park's northern end. The waterfalls there are equally stunning, and the smaller crowds make the extra drive well worth it. ZADAR's Sea Organ is a modern installation that might sound gimmicky on paper, like TROGIR, but you have to experience it in person. A series of marble steps descends into the Adriatic, with carefully designed pipes underneath. As waves push air through them, the pipes create constantly changing musical tones. Sitting on the warm marble steps at sunset, listening to these haunting, unpredictable sounds while watching the sun dip into the Adriatic, feels magical. A moment of unexpected beauty and meditation. Right next to the sea organ is the Sun Salutation installation, a large circle of solar panels flush with the pavement. They absorb sunlight during the day and, at night, produce a colorful light show. ZADAR's compact old town is easy to explore on foot. Roman ruins, including a forum in the city center, sit alongside medieval churches tucked into narrow streets. It's less touristy than Dubrovnik or Split, but just as fascinating. If you're still dreaming about this Croatian adventure, hit that like button now and subscribe to Passport Unfolded. We're building a community of travelers who seek depth over surface. Every video goes beyond the generic guidebook information to show you what really makes a place unforgettable. Rovinj is where Istria shows off the quintessential picture-perfect coastal town. Colorful buildings cascade down to the harbor, where fishing boats bob in waters so clear you can see fish swimming below. The Church of St. Euphemia crowns the hilltop, its campanile modeled after Venice's San Marco. The town was an island until the 18th century when the channel was filled in. Walking the narrow streets feels genuinely medieval. Stone archways lead to hidden courtyards and laundry hangs from windows above. The waterfront is lined with restaurants serving fresh Adriatic fish and Istrian truffles, accompanied by local Malvasia wine. Prices reflect Rovinj's popularity, but the quality generally justifies the cost. Just south of town, Zlatni RT Park offers pine forest trails and rocky beaches where locals swim. Renting bikes is the best way to explore the coastline, revealing hidden coves and swimming spots that day trippers rarely find. They're too busy photographing the old town. PULA's Roman Arena is one of the best preserved amphitheaters in the world. Built in the 1st century, it's still used today for concerts and film festivals. You can watch gladiator reenactments or opera performances in the same space where actual Romans witnessed real gladiators 2,000 years ago. The scale is impressive. The arena once seated 20,000 people with walls rising in 3 levels of arches, creating that classic Roman silhouette. Underground passages where gladiators and animals once waited now serve as a museum. Among other exhibits, it explains olive oil production, seemingly random, but Istria takes its olive oil very seriously. PULA itself is less touristy than coastal towns further south. It's a working city with Roman ruins scattered throughout, including the Temple of Augustus in the main square and a triumphal arch near the marina. Zagreb is Croatia's capital and largest city. It lacks the coastal scenery that defines most visitors' Croatian experience, but it offers Austro-Hungarian architecture, excellent museums, and a lively cafe culture. More Central European than Mediterranean. The upper town is filled with cobblestone streets and historic landmarks. St. Mark's Church, with its colorful tiled roof, is the iconic centerpiece. The funicular connecting the upper and lower towns is allegedly the world's shortest cable car, stretching just 66 meters. One of Zagreb's quirkiest attractions is the Museum of Broken Relationships, where donated objects from failed relationships are displayed alongside notes ranging from heartbreaking to hilarious. It's both unusual and surprisingly profound. Kalčičeva Street in the lower town is lined with cafes and bars where locals linger for hours over coffee. The outdoor markets, including Dolak Market, sell fresh produce, local cheese, and cured meats, perfect for packing a picnic before heading to the coast. Šibenik sits where the Krka River meets the Adriatic. This coastal town sees fewer tourists than Dubrovnik or Split, but it offers equally impressive medieval architecture. The UNESCO-listed Cathedral of St. James was built entirely from stone. No bricks or wood were used. 4 fortresses ring the old town, and climbing to St. Michael's Fortress at sunset rewards you with sweeping views across terracotta roofs to the sea. Summer concerts and performances in the fortress courtyard add atmospheric evening entertainment. The narrow streets of the old town climb steeply from the waterfront. Exploring without a set destination reveals hidden squares and charming corners. Neighborhood kanobas serve food where locals actually eat, rather than performing for tourists. ŠIBENIK also makes an excellent base for visiting Krka National Park, and the nearby Kornati Islands, an archipelago of uninhabited islands, is a sailor's paradise. TROGIR is a tiny UNESCO-listed town situated on an island, connected to the mainland by bridges. Its old town is so perfectly preserved that it sometimes feels like a movie set, except people actually live and work here. The Cathedral of St. Lawrence features a Romanesque portal intricately carved with biblical scenes and apostles. Climbing the bell tower offers panoramic views over the town's narrow streets, with terracotta roofs stretching to the marina filled with sailboats. TROGIR is small enough to explore in just a few hours, which is why most visitors day trip from Split, 25 kilometers away. But staying overnight gives you the chance to experience the town after the tour groups leave. Locals reclaim the waterfront promenade, and restaurants serve dinner at a leisurely pace. In summer, the Camerlengo Fortress on the western tip hosts concerts, while the nearby mainland suburb of Siget offers beaches that TROGIR proper lacks. The MAKARSKA Riviera is a 60-kilometer stretch of coast between Split and Dubrovnik, where the Biokovo Mountains rise dramatically from the sea. Pebble beaches with crystalline waters dot small towns, which remain relatively affordable and less developed than Croatia's more famous coastal areas. Makarska town is the main hub, featuring a long beach promenade and restaurants serving freshly grilled fish. Smaller towns like Brela and Baška Voda offer quieter alternatives, with equally beautiful beaches and better value accommodations. The Biokovo Skywalk is a horseshoe-shaped glass platform, extending from the mountain at over 1,300 meters in elevation. It offers vertigo-inducing views straight down to the Adriatic and across to the islands. Hiking trails throughout Biokovo Nature Park range from easy walks to challenging mountain routes, with the altitude providing cooler temperatures that make summer hiking comfortable. MLJET is Croatia's greenest island, with over 70% covered in forest. A national park occupies the western third, including 2 saltwater lakes connected to the sea by narrow channels. The larger lake contains a tiny island, home to a 12th century Benedictine monastery reachable by boat or kayak. Swimming in these warm, protected lakes surrounded by pine forest feels like discovering a secret paradise. The island sees far fewer tourists than Hvar or KORČULA, and getting there requires longer ferry rides from Dubrovnik or Split. The lack of crowds is a blessing, making cycling around the lakes and through the forest feel wonderfully solitary, even within a national park. According to local legend, Odysseus spent 7 years shipwrecked here. Probably not true, but it adds to the island's mystique. The eastern part of MLJET, outside the park, has small villages and secluded bays that are worth exploring if you have the time. The island's serene beauty makes extended stays easy to understand. The PELJEŠAC Peninsula is where Croatian wine reaches its peak. This long, narrow peninsula north of Dubrovnik produces robust red wines from Plavac Mali grapes, rivaling anything in the Mediterranean while remaining relatively unknown internationally. At the base of the peninsula sits Stan, famous for its medieval walls, the longest defensive walls in Europe after the Great Wall of China, stretching 5.5 kilometers over hills. Climbing them rewards you with sweeping views and a serious workout. Stan is also renowned for oysters and mussels, farmed in the bay and served impossibly fresh in waterfront restaurants alongside local wine. Prices that would be unthinkable in Western Europe. Along the southern coast, the villages of Potomje and Dingač host family-run wineries offering tastings. Visiting these small producers often creates personal connections, as the winemaker is likely the owner's son or grandson. The beaches at Viganj and Kučište attract windsurfers with consistent winds blowing across the channel between PELJEŠAC and KORČULA. The practical reality of traveling in Croatia is that it's become significantly more expensive, especially along the coast in summer. That said, it's still cheaper than Italy or France. The coastal towns get extremely crowded from June through August with European vacationers. For a better balance of weather, crowds, and prices, visit in May, September, or October. Ferry schedules between the islands are excellent in summer but reduced in the shoulder season, so plan accordingly. Most coastal residents speak at least basic English thanks to years of tourism, though learning a few Croatian phrases never hurts. The cuisine is Mediterranean with Italian influences. Expect lots of fresh fish, grilled meats, risotto, pasta, olive oil, and local wine. Tap water is safe and excellent. Since 2023, Croatia uses the euro, making transactions simpler for European visitors. All the towns, restaurants, hiking trails, and island hopping routes I've mentioned are linked in the description, so you can plan your Croatian adventure without frantically taking notes. Subscribe to Passport Unfolded for more deep dives into destinations that reward exploration over checkbox tourism, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next video. Comment below which Croatian destination excites you most. I read every comment and love hearing about your travel plans. Now close YouTube and start checking ferry schedules. Croatia is waiting, and it's even more stunning than these photos suggest.